Thank you for joining us today to learn more about the Maryland Entrepreneur Hub. It's an exciting new online tool designed with the entrepreneur in mind to provide a platform that gathers all of Maryland's entrepreneur and startup resources and funding information in one place. I'm Heather Graham, Senior Director of Strategic Industries and Entrepreneurship at the Maryland Department of Commerce. Maryland has a diverse innovation ecosystem filled with various organizations, incubators, accelerators, and so much more that are valuable supports to our entrepreneurs. But they're spread out and there's a lot of information, and it can be difficult to find everything that you need to grow your business. So our team at the Maryland Department of Commerce was excited to partner with TEDCO and the University System of Maryland to address these challenges, providing a comprehensive web-based solution to aggregate entrepreneur and startup resources, assets, and support systems from across thousands of websites that are relevant to our entrepreneur ecosystem here in Maryland. Today, you're going to hear from these partners, along with Pavel Lapierre, founder and CEO of EcoMap, to learn more. So it's my pleasure to introduce Claire Johnson, Managing Director of the University System of Maryland's Momentum Fund, to introduce our panel. Claire?
Super. Thanks, Heather. I really appreciate it. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Claire Brito Johnson. I am the Managing Director of the Maryland Momentum Fund. We invest in early stage startups loosely affiliated with the university system, and I'm really pleased to see that we now have a way to support entrepreneurs at every stage of their journey across Maryland. So I'm going to be the MC today, and I'm going to let each of these lovely ladies introduce themselves as I ask them questions. So let's just kick it off. The first question to Lindsay Bryan, my colleague at University System of Maryland. Why does Maryland need the Maryland Entrepreneur Hub today?
Great, thanks, Claire. The words from Heather, you point to some of the reasons why we need this. In some ways, it's a good problem to have, is that there's just so many resources. Keeping track of them, putting them all in one place, whether you've been in business for a while and are looking for some new resources, or especially if you're starting up. So again, good problems to have, but we saw a need there. And the second part of that problem / a great problem to have is that the ecosystem is really dynamic. So you could go through the effort of putting together a website and a guide, and it's going to be great, but the next day, a new program is going to come about that's going to solve a different problem.
So the next question is over to Allison. How did this idea start from the idea of, how did this come together?
Sure. Hi, I'm Allison Redpath, and I'm the Director of Entrepreneurship at the Maryland Department of Commerce. And I started at the Department of Commerce just over a year ago. And, my first few weeks in the job, it was last January of last year, I was looking around myself online. I was new. I was like, I know a lot about the ecosystem, but not everything, right? And I thought, gosh, we really ought to have one place where you can look up everything you need. And then in March of last year, Claire and I were at the State House in Annapolis. And the reason we were there is for a Maryland Economic Development Commission meeting, because Claire was presenting and I was attending the meeting because I was also going to a one-on-one meeting afterwards with several members of the commission. Kelly Schultz, who's the Secretary of Commerce, and Dr. Linda Singh, who was running TEDCO at the time. And Claire, I had not met Dr. Singh before, and we were in the hallway after the commission meeting, and Claire introduced me to Linda. And Linda said, I really think we need an online resource database for the state. I said, wow, I've been working on that. And then a couple of weeks later, Claire and I were talking. She said, I think USM would like to be involved in this as well. I said, terrific.
So, like Allison, I have been supporting early stage startups for the last almost 2 years, and there are a plethora of resources available, but not all in one place. And I'm hoping Lindsay can answer the question of why did TEDCO Commerce and USM start coordinating on this?
Great, yeah. It's been a really great partnership, and I think TEDCO Commerce and USM, we all help entrepreneurs across the state, and such a great diversity of entrepreneurs at different stages, industries. And so I think we were all uniquely positioned to see the need and sort of the scope of it. And then also saw, I think, ourselves as partners as being uniquely positioned to be able to actually deliver something in that space, right? So at least to me, that seems like why it's been not even just the interest to start working on it, but the continued interest to keep working on it as it keeps developing and going, because it's certainly not done yet, right? And I think that's why it's just been an outstanding partnership. And one quick example would just be the focus groups that we pulled together to get input from entrepreneurs. I can't think of 3 other organizations that could have pulled together such great mix of entrepreneurs across the state in different industries as quickly as we did, and getting that great information. So looking forward to, again, continue to work on it as the platform develops.
Yeah, and I think to underscore what Lindsay just said, I mean, it is definitely a work in progress. And so we are very much expecting all of you to help us. This is its beta version. And there are, on the Maryland Entrepreneur Hub website, there are a number of places where you can add your event, where you can give us feedback, because this is not perfect yet. The whole intention is we're building community, and we're trying to make sure that the entire entrepreneurship community, whether they're wealthy or not, and no matter where they come from, has access to the same resources, whether it's an incubator or an accelerator, or it's access to funding, or it's access to different events or mentorship programs. We want to make sure everyone has access to all of the things. And I'm sure that, our site has bugs in it, and we're relying on everyone watching this show that to help us make sure that all the links are accurate, and that we're making it as effective a platform as possible. So my next question to Anne from TEDCO is, how did TEDCO decide to use EcoMap? What was the process to choose EcoMap?
Yeah, so again, my name is Ann Balduzzi. I'm TEDCO's Managing Director of Entrepreneur and Ecosystem Empowerment. So I too sit on the front lines working with many entrepreneurs who have dealt with many of the frustrations that you've heard everyone discuss today. So we were very excited to get this, get this program started, but we wanted to make sure that we were working and partnering with the best possible solution available. So we went through the traditional RFP process. We received a number of proposals from around the country, even a few abroad. And we found that EcoMap just rose to the top of the pack, primarily because not only were they a Maryland-based company, but they also had previously developed the exact AI-enabled solution that we were all seeking. And it was also within our budget. In addition to that, they also had an experienced and diverse team, and they had extreme expertise in working with Maryland founders and also within our ecosystem. They knew all the ecosystem players, and they were in the best position to quickly put this solution together for us.
Super. Thank you, Anne. So I'm now going to turn it over to Pava. So who should be using the Maryland Entrepreneur Hub? And I hope that maybe you can give us a quick demo. So if a new user is coming in to the Maryland Entrepreneur Hub, what will he or she see?
Yeah, absolutely. So very happy to be here. My name is Pava. I am the CEO and founder of EcoMap Technologies. We were thrilled to be chosen to develop the Maryland Entrepreneur Hub because we are a Baltimore-based, Maryland-grown company. And we really intended the Maryland Entrepreneur Hub to be used by any entrepreneur at any stage in their journey. So whether it is a student who is starting their first company ever and looking for those resources to get started, or whether you have a business that has been around for years and you're maybe looking to grow. We wanted to design with every stage of the entrepreneur in mind. And so one of the main things about all of our platforms, but especially the Maryland Entrepreneur Hub, is that we aggregated data from thousands of different sources into one platform. So instead of entrepreneurs having to go Google around the internet to try to find funding that fits their needs, we categorized all of that data, aggregated it all into one place so you can navigate it from one platform. And as all of my co-panelists have said, it is still a work in progress, especially when you're dealing with a data set of this size. We undoubtedly missed some things. And so we really appreciate every single time you hit that little beta feedback button to let us know exactly what we missed and how we can improve. And so I'll give a little quick look at the platform right now, just to briefly walk new users through. So you'll see here on the Maryland Entrepreneur Hub, we have this beautiful graphic that was developed to give an introduction to the diverse ecosystem that we have in the state. And then we have this way that you can navigate the platform to help you find the resources that you need. So there's a few buttons here to help you jump right in. And so I'm gonna, just go to explore all resources, because this is the big bread and butter of what many entrepreneurs are looking for. So if we go to explore all resources, we're going to be taken to the meta database, as we call it, which has over 2,000 resources available for entrepreneurs. And now here is where you can narrow down the data set depending on your unique needs. So let's say that I am an idea stage company and I'm looking for funding. I can narrow down this data set to find exactly what might fit for me. And so if I find a resource that looks interesting, I can open it up and learn more information about it. So I can see that this is a micro loan fund, and it's for traditional businesses, so not high growth companies. And it's provided by the Baltimore Development Corporation. There's no restrictions on who can use it, which is really awesome for me to see, because this is where we will show things like you have to apply, or you have to, be in business for 5 years, or things of that nature. And so this is a resource that's very interesting to me. And so I can just go ahead and save that to my user profile, and it's going to be stored on my account so I can come back and look at it whenever I want. And so if I wanted to learn more about the resources provided by the Baltimore Development Corporation, I can always click on their profile and learn about them as an organization. And this is really where the Entrepreneur Hub is meant to be, not only for just entrepreneurs, but also people within Maryland's ecosystem, because we can see a breakdown of what these different organizations do. They, provide mentorship, and they host programs, and they provide funding to businesses. And so I can now see all of the different resources that are provided by the Baltimore Development Corporation, which, as you can see, there are a ton of them. And so if I ever wanted to get a bird's eye view of all of the organizations, I can always go to the organizational database and explore in the exact same way that I would look for resources. But here I can say, let's say I want to look up TEDCO, to find TEDCO and learn more about what they do. I can do that as well, save them to my profile in the same manner. And you can see that TEDCO, rivals BDC in terms of the number of resources that they have. And so finally, if I want to just check out events and deadlines, we can go over here to see upcoming opportunities. So this is going to walk through any opportunities that are coming up about, new deadlines that are important, or new programs that you might want to apply to, or funding deadlines that might be particularly salient. So you can explore those here, or you can go down to the calendar to see the deadline of all of the different resources and organizations across the state that might be of interest. And you can click to learn a little bit more, and then always click off to the profile if that's something that is interesting to you. And so that's just a, brief overview of how the Maryland Entrepreneur Hub works. But if you are not, super familiar with some of the terminology and you need a little bit more specific searching, you can always use our navigator and say, I specifically want to look into resources by my location. So show me resources by the different county that I'm in, and you can click to explore resources that way. Or I can explore by industry. So if I wanted to look into, for example, technology-based resources, or resources for technology companies, I can do that and see only resources that are explicitly tagged to be used by technology and cybersecurity and IT companies. And the same exact process is as shown. You can filter, make sure you're finding things that are free, and finding things that fit you as an entrepreneur. So as you can see, there's a lot of different ways you can navigate the Maryland Entrepreneur Hub, but it was all meant to help you find exactly what you need as an entrepreneur, whether that is by the stage of your business, the type of business that you're building, who you are as a founder, or where you are located. The data set is very detailed, and we're always looking for feedback on data we may have missed. And so as my other panelists pointed out, we made it super easy. If you ever want to send us feedback, you can hit that button right there and let us know how we can make this even more impactful for you as an entrepreneur. So
Pava, tell me, how would you add an event to the Maryland Entrepreneur Hub? Can you show us that?
Absolutely. So if we go to the Maryland Entrepreneur Hub, if there is an event that we missed that you think is really important, we don't even ask you to give us all of the data. Just let us know the name of the event. So the Entrepreneur Conference, and then drop us a URL. Wonder who owns this, and then just send it to our team, and that will go directly to our team to review. And We keep the data on this site regularly updated. So once every month, we're reviewing every single one of those submissions, as well as keeping a pulse on the ecosystem. And we will add all of those new events, all of those new deadlines, all of those new resources that may have been missed. So you can only expect the number of resources on the hub to grow over time.
Super. That's really helpful. I appreciate that. Now, how is the Maryland Entrepreneur Hub updated regularly? Can you tell us a little bit about how you scrape the data?
Absolutely. So we don't talk too much about, the algorithms that we use, but at EcoMap, we use a variety of technologies to help us identify all the different resources within a given region, whether that's a city, state, we've even done a country. And then we pull information off of those sites, and it's not done entirely, technologically. We have an expert team who goes in and tags that data with a standardized language, right? So everything on the Maryland Entrepreneur Hub that says idea stage is for the same stage of company. So we try to standardize it and keep everything, consistent so that the entrepreneur has a contiguous experience when they're using the site. And when it comes to updating, we have algorithms that are monitoring these different websites that we drew information from, and they alert us when something has been changed on the website, whether a date has been updated or a description is missing or if the link is broken. We get notifications for that. And every month when we update the data set, we're going in and we're pushing new deadlines. We're reviewing broken links to make sure that that information is staying as up to date as possible. Obviously websites break every once in a while and, websites will go down, but we do try to catch all of those at, every month when we're pushing that new data to make sure that entrepreneurs are not dealing with outdated programs that no longer exist or deadlines that are no longer relevant.
Perfect. Thank you. I'm going to turn it back to Lindsay. Lindsay, can you tell us a little bit about how you might gather information about starting a company if you're very, very early in the stages? Don't have to show us anything on the screen, but what would you suggest that an early stage entrepreneur who's just thinking about starting a company figure out how to help that person gather information about starting a company?
Yeah, this is great. I've done a fair bit of this in my role as venture development director across our 12 universities. I have this conversation a lot, and I'm so glad to add this tool to be able to start people off on it. So, a couple of things come to mind. Hitting the easy button here is just to go to the idea stage, search by company, search resources by stage of company, right? That's kind of the easy button. But especially with this platform and the ability to create a profile and save resources, I encourage you to do that and then do a couple different searches, right? It's not just the easy button. The second search is to kind of think about your learning style, believe it or not. So like you can get started by immersing yourself in a community and learning from other people. And so for that, you're going to want to go toward those networking type events, those workshops, those activities where you're going to meet people and you're going to learn through them. Yeah, some people you learn more through structure. Maybe you're a student or you liked being a student back when you were one. So that's where you can go to those structured programs like incubators, accelerators, and you'll find those all kind of grouped together on the site as well. The third type of resource are really these more tactical things. So if you kind of think you know what you're doing, but you have some specific tasks or objectives that you need to get done, tools that you need, there's another section of those types of tools. So I definitely encourage you to look that way as well. And then the last way to look at things are by sort of things that you have an affinity with. So that might be industry. So for example, if you're in an industry, you've been in that industry for a while, and now you're going to do an entrepreneurial endeavor, wouldn't it be great to know about what events are going to have people in your industry that are entrepreneurs, right? Specific grants and resources in that industry. Similarly, we have several different ways to search by how you identify. So if you are a student or based in a university, if you're a woman, Black or Latinx, there are specific resources targeted towards different types of entrepreneurs and different communities that you can be a part of. So those are usually the best ways to sort of start getting your feet wet. But look at it from a couple different angles, and that's what this platform allows you to do, in addition to hitting the easy button if you want to do that too on early stage.
Thanks, Lindsay. That's great. Yeah, I mean, one of the things that makes me really happy to be a part of the Maryland ecosystem is that it's a relatively small ecosystem. So I was actually really impressed that Pava, with her scraping tools, was able to gather over 2,000 different tools that entrepreneurs might be able to use. And I hope that this only helps to build up the community more. So, this is really meant to be a way for people to just get connected in a time of COVID and hopefully, thereafter. I wanted to turn the question over to Anne, actually, which is, how do entrepreneurs find other forms of capital? And can you share some of your learnings from that?
Yeah. So having been in the position of having to raise capital as a founder myself, now coming to TEDCO, this Maryland Entrepreneur Hub is something that I really wished I had back in the day. And it's something that I hope that will, as it grows over time, and it will grow over time, and it'll keep improving over time with more content, more information, and greater access to resources. So as we patiently watch this thing kind of bud over time, one of the key questions that we often get asked is, at TEDCO, how can I raise money to get my company off the ground? Well, most entrepreneurs start out self-funding if they're capable of doing that, or they gather funds from friends and family. That's a very traditional way of kind of getting a business started. Some newer tools have come along the line, things like crowdfunding, that sometimes makes sense for some companies, not so much for other companies. And then, you try to sometimes raise money that is not going to dilute your business. So grants are a great way of doing that. In fact, SBIRs, Small Business Innovation Research Grants, are great. And there's a lot of government entities just in our backyard that have run a lot of these wonderful programs to gain that extra dollars for developing your technologies. But competitions are great. There are lots of competitions, by the way, that are run around the state. And going to that events calendar that we mentioned earlier is a great way to discover those events. In fact, oftentimes we see companies, it's not as competitive as you think. So learning about those events and getting your company's name out there is just another way of attending these events and applying for these competitions. And then the more traditional routes are investors, angels, VCs, TEDCO. We have, a number of different investments on our platform, everywhere from pre-seed investments all the way up to Series A. But we also, for the non-tech companies, there's also more traditional capital like banks and other ways in which you can raise dollars beyond that. But that's just, we're hoping that this platform will be a way to discover a lot of those different avenues to raising funding.
Wonderful. Thank you. What a great answer. I appreciate that. It's a question I get asked all the time. So thank you for that. Question to Allison, which is, how do we collectively grow the entrepreneurial ecosystem together? What can we do to help?
Yeah, Claire, you mentioned earlier a few minutes ago about building community and about connectivity. And I think a lot of it stems from that. It's about creating win-win situations within the community and within the ecosystem, and also having transparency and access to information to be able to reach the kind of people, the appropriate people at the right time. And so that's where the hub comes in. And we're hoping that will facilitate a lot more of these, creating these win-win situations and these long-term relationships that really build the fabric of the community and enable the whole ecosystem to grow and make it more attractive, even more attractive for other companies and other investors to come in. And in fact, I and all of my colleagues at Commerce are out talking to companies every day throughout the US and throughout the world and talking to them about the Maryland ecosystem. And we're delighted that now we're going to have this resource that we can send to people and they can go and find out exactly what we have and learn all about it in a lot of detail.
Super. Well, I have to say, publicly, I've really enjoyed working with each and every one of these powerful, capable women. And it's one of the very first times from an entrepreneurial perspective I've worked with all women on one project. So I just want to say thank you to the panelists on this call. Thank you to EcoMap, to TEDCO, to Commerce, to Lindsay at USM for doing such wonderful work. And I appreciate all of you listening today. Please check out Maryland Entrepreneur Hub for all of the resources and please help us make the website better. Have a great day.
Thank you.